Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Well, now I don't have the reflection. Welcome back to my channel. I thought I would do another video as kind of an extension or a continuance of one of the last videos I did on Adobe Audition Basics. Wanted to run through a few other things as I realized that I didn't really cover some absolute basics. So we'll run through a few more tools and nuances of Adobe Audition in this video. So stick around. Okay. I had to move my camera kind of off to the side and in the middle so you could actually see some of the stuff that I'm showing you here. But um, once again, this is basically what you're going to see when you first start or first open Adobe Audition. Um, one few things that I wanted to point out to you that I use a lot. Obviously, I've gone over the waveform and or like a basic audio track and then the multi-track in the last video. But I wanted to point out a few other things that I don't think that I touched on that are pretty important. And some of those are these basic controls down here at the bottom. Some of them are obvious, some of them are not so much. Here, let's open up just a regular audio track. There we go. So everything is active. So down here at the bottom, you have stop, obviously. You have play, which you can start and stop with your space bar if you're listening back. And then you have move your playhead to the previous, which is basically here. Let's just record some stuff. This is me recording some basic audio to lay down so we can go over some of these Adobe Audition tools. And that is not how I do my voiceover, but sure you guessed that. Okay, so if we have the playhead over here, we want to hit this button down here, it moves it back to the beginning or the start of the track. This would be obviously rewind, fast forward. And then this one here would move it to the next. I think if we placed a marker here, which you just hit M on your keyboard. Let's see if it will move it there. So if I move my playhead here, yep. And then this one here, move playhead to next. Say you have a marker in your audio track, like you're marking the start of a new, say, for example, that you're recording e-learning and you're recording all of the module sections in one audio file and then you're going to split them later. The reason you would do this is if you're going to record them all at once, you want all of the processing, all of the any of the effects that you add to it, you want the entire track to sound uniform. So if you record it all at once and then split all of the separate modules later, this is where you would want to use markers. And to make a marker, you just hit M. First of all, you take your playhead to where you want the marker to be. Here, let's get rid of this one so I can show you. Move your playhead to where you want the marker to be, and you hit M to make a marker. And the cool thing about this is if you have different sections or maybe you're editing and you can't edit all of it, but you maybe leave off in the middle of one of the sections and you don't want to leave a marker to mark where you left off, but the same color, you can change the color of these. So you could go to change marker type and you can change it to subclip, for example, and it turns the marker blue. So if you had a couple of markers in here, say you want to put another one here, that way, just at a quick glance, when you're going back in to edit, you can see where you left off with a different color marker, and you can change this too. I think there was, I'm gonna, oh, there it is. There's 4 different colors. Obviously, they're for something else, but you can use these for different marking types. And then to get rid of a marker, you just right click and then delete it. Or you can even rename it something else if you wanted to. You can rename it. Whoops, I just deleted it. Add it back in there. And you can rename it, you know, edit. So you shows yourself or shows you later where you left off in the editing process. Another thing I wanted to show you if, let's say you're listening back during editing and maybe you're trying to identify something to delete or you're trying to identify something in a small section that sounds kind of weird, or maybe you're trying to adjust noise reduction, but you're wanting to adjust. See if I can give you an example here. Okay, so let's say you're editing back and there is maybe your phone chimes in the middle of your voiceover and you didn't stop and re-record it. You knew that you wanted to go back in and try to remove that particular noise. So if you highlight a certain section that you want to focus on and you're trying to listen back to just this section, if you hit this button here, which will loop just this section. So I have this clicked on, so you can click it on or click it off. I have it clicked on, so when I play this back, it'll only play what is highlighted. And if you unclick it, start the play. Oh, let's select this section again. It'll just stop. It won't keep looping. Another thing I wanted to show you that I use an awful lot is the healing brush. So as you can see my cursor here above the spectral display, which is this section down here. And let's just backtrack a little bit. The spectral display down here at the bottom will show you a different view of your voiceover. And I find this view a whole lot more helpful in removing mouth noise or clicks. I have isotope D mouth noise an effect to use, but sometimes it doesn't take out everything, and you don't wanna crank that too high where it takes out some of your T's. So, I have it set to it just takes out some of the mouth noise, but once in a while, you get a little bit extra clicky and you have a little bit of mouth noise you wanna remove, like this guy right here, let's just say. If you bring your cursor down to the spectral display and hit B, that will start the brush. And you can change this brush size up here where this size is. You can make it a smaller brush, very tiny brush, so you can get, really tiny little bits of noise. Or you can crank this way up and be a huge brush. I stay about 20 back to that's there we go. So I am going to, with my mouse, scroll up, which will widen this out. And then I'll use my brush and just using the left button, I'll just kind of click through until I get rid of that little bit of noise. And here's another little click. I can just brush that out and it just heals it. So it'll completely just take out whatever you put your brush on. So here's another little bit of noise. We're just going to heal that. And let's say you have something that's very specific, like, let me see if I can find. mm, Okay, let's just say I want to remove this bit of noise here, but I don't want to use the brush. Let's say you have, for example, I edit podcasts also. And sometimes the hosts will have their phone will ding in their pocket or the computer that they're using to record on. They'll get an email and it'll bing. And you have to remove just that noise. And the healing brush just won't work to completely take just that noise out. The healing brush is great, but it won't isolate a specific high pitched noise, like a computer ding or anything. If you want to use a different kind of tool, you hit E, and that gives you this little crosshairs. So if I right click and make myself a little rectangle and isolate just that noise there, and if you hit the space bar, it'll play that noise so you can make sure that you have that noise you want to remove isolated. And then if you come up here to your volume, you can turn just that little section way down or completely delete it, and that'll get rid of it. But I would not use this unless it is something difficult to get out with a brush because deleting a piece of you run the risk of deleting a part of a vocal range of whomever is talking also. So be very careful with that one. And you'll see as you try it for yourself, you'll see what I mean. But 9 times out of 10, I use the healing brush, which B, or you can also come up here and just click the little spot healing brush. And also another thing I wanted to point out for audiobooks, the head and the tail of every file needs to be a certain length. Like, for example, the head of an audiobook file needs to be between half a second and a second long, and the tail needs to be between, I believe it is 3 and 5 seconds. I usually stay about 3.5 seconds for the tail of room tone. I'm not sure exactly what that is. Don't quote me on that for ACX, but I usually stay about 3.5 seconds. So, to tell how much room tone space you have, you can highlight this section. Like, say, this is the tail of my file, and I highlight it. If you look down here, you can see how long your selection is. So, this one is only about little over a second long. So, let's say if I copy this and then I paste it, or Control V, I can extend this room tone section. Let's see where we're at now, about 3.3 seconds, which would be fine for me. Usually about that range, usually between 3 and 4 seconds. I'll be fine with that. And that is another little trick there for audiobook production. And I don't know if I had mentioned this before. Down here, you have history and you have video. Your history will show you everything that you have done to this file before you close it out and move on to something else. So, as long as this file is open, you can go back and undo anything. Let's say, for example, that you completely edited this file and then you put it through the processing. You removed background noise or added a little EQ, and then you listen back and you don't quite like it. You can undo it. You can just go back to the last step, of whatever it was that you want to undo. And then you can start over again, which is kind of cool. I've used it a lot, especially in the beginning when I was trying to kind of find my sound and find how I wanted things to sound. Um, you know, Adobe Audition is very forgiving. So get in there and just play with it. It is really not as intimidating as it initially was. It's not as intimidating as it appears to be. When I first got it, I was like, "Oh my god, this is so much to go through." 'Cause, I mean, this is still just really the surface of what it could do here. There are tons of other things that you can do with it. You can create yourself some keyboard shortcuts. So you have a specific process for audiobooks, like down pat, but you don't wanna go through all the button strokes. You can actually program a button on your keyboard to perform all of those tasks all at once. So it saves a whole lot of time. That's another thing that you can do. Maybe we can go through that in another video, but there is just so much that you can do with Adobe Audition. There's all of these effects, which we had gone through in a previous video. There are some favorites up here, which is awesome. As you can see, I have a audiobook RMS mastering favorite that is set. And there's also, all of these just quick, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, if you wanted to normalize it to -3 dB, which is pretty typical for a lot of voiceover, you just hit that and it's done. You've got compressor, you've got, the ability to edit these favorites or delete them. You can start recording a favorite, like I said before, and create your own kind of chain. You just hit a button and it's done. One of the things that I do suggest you do before you get too far along is to come down to your preferences. and go to General. This will bring up this box here. I would go down to Autosave and have Adobe Audition's autosave everything that you're doing. I have it set for every 3 minutes. You could probably do every couple of minutes. It doesn't interrupt anything, but every once in a while, I would love to say that, Adobe is just amazing and never has any issues, but I have had it crash a couple of times, and it just stinks when you cannot recover a file. So set the autosave up before you start getting too far in and make sure that you have that set. Um, if you wanted to change the colors like I have on mine, you can select all the different colors here. Like my waveform is red. I think when it first starts out, if I remember correctly, it's kind of like a green. You can change any of these colors to whatever you want them to be. There's some presets here if you want to just set it and forget it. But if you want to get, creative with some of your colors, you can do that here in Appearance. But there's really nothing else in here that you would need to really change or mess with. Everything else should pretty much default to your specific setup. Um, but if you have to go in and tweak some things, you know where that is. So I think that's going to do it for today's video. I just wanted to expand upon the last video that I did and add a few other just basic things to help you utilize Adobe Audition to its full potential for you to start. And as you start to go along, you'll start to find more buttons and more shortcuts and stuff that make it so much easier to use. I love Adobe Audition and I recommend it if you're looking for a new DAW. Um, but that's about it. If you have any questions about anything related to voiceover, ACX, Fiverr, Upwork, Adobe Audition, anything that I can help with, please leave me a comment down below, send me an email. I am here for you. Again, I always love hearing from you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. I appreciate it. But I'll see you on the next one. Bye.